The tide on a beach can be modeled by the equation y equals -3 cosine of pi over 12 x minus 5 plus 8, where x is hours after midnight, so midnight is hour 0, and y is the level of the tide in feet. Which statement is false? So I'm going to start with B, C, and D because those seem to be easier. So B says the highest the tide goes is 11 feet. So that's saying, is the max 11? Now, we could figure out the max just by looking at the equation because the midline is 8 and the amplitude is 3. So if we do 8 plus 3, we do get 11. So that's definitely true. The other way we can see that is if we go to graph this equation. So we type it into y equals, and now we want to adjust our window. So now we're starting at hour 0, so I'm going to make my x min 0, and the period is going to be 24 hours. Now, even if I'm not sure about that, if I look at answer choice C, they're talking about 5 p.m., which is 17 hours after midnight. So I need to go at least to 17. I'm going to go to 24. Now, I know that the max is 11, but even if I wasn't sure about that, if I look at this answer choice, it says 11. So, I mean, I'll probably make my y max a little bit bigger than 11. So maybe I'll make it like 13, just so I could see a little bit more. And then my y min, well, that's going to be 8 minus 3, which is going to be 5. So I'll go maybe a little bit lower than that. So maybe I'll start at 3. But, I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly like this. So now I'll graph it and I'll check it out. I'll see if it looks good. And I'm pretty satisfied with this graph. So I want to see, is it true that the highest tide is at 11 feet? Well, I can find the max by going to second calc, max, and left bound, I press enter, right bound, I press enter, enter again, and I see that my max is at 11, and I see that it occurs when x is 17, which is the next choice, so that's true. And then I want to know, is the tide increasing at 7 a.m.? Well, I don't know where 7 is exactly, but if I go to trace and type 7, it'll bring my cursor right to 7, and I see, yeah, okay, the graph is increasing at 7, so that's true. So right here, I can just use the process of elimination and choose A. Now, if I want to check to see if that's true, well, it says the tide is, or actually false, the tide is decreasing by approximately 0.13 feet per hour on average from midnight until noon. Okay, so they want me to calculate the average rate of change. So all I need to do is plug in 12, which is noon, into the y value, and then 0, and then type that in. Now there's an easy way to do this. So if I typed the function into y1. So if I go to vars, y-vars, function y1 of 12, that plugs 12 into the function. I just don't feel like typing that entire thing. So I'm going to do y1 of 12 minus y1 of 0. That's my numerator. And I'm going to divide it by 12 minus 0, or just 12. That's my denominator. And I get approximately 0.13. Now, since the average rate of change is positive, that tells me the tide is actually increasing. at approximately that rate, which is why answer choice A is false, which is why A is the correct answer.